Welcome to Gimcrack Video. How may I help you?
Hey, what's going on, man? You got anything new to watch?
No, but we are running a special on sequels.
Is that over there on that shelf that says that it's not for human consumption?
No, on the one right next to it that says 3 for $1.
Oh, let's just grab some. What could go wrong?
Enjoy your selection.
That was almost like a Tommy Wiseau laugh you did there.
That was a deranged laugh, as if you've been forced to watch Basket Case 3 for some ungodly reason. I don't know why that would be.
Are you not amused?
You say that like you're like a gladiator. Are you not entertained? We have bled for you.
Yeah, I you know what, I gotta say, this is a good pick.
You know, that's not what Frank thinks.
No?
When you ask, this is the only movie of Frank and Lauders that he actually dislikes.
Really?
And if there's a quote from him that says, have you ever gotten that feeling when you're creating something and realize what you're making is a piece of shit?
Every time I start the podcast.
Yeah, you know, and you're not the one who has to spend hours slaving over a hot desktop so that I can start a cricket sound effect 35 minutes in. What does heaven sound like? Which version of this non-copyrighted stock footage stock music am I going to go with this time?
Wow. It sounds like it's quite the story there you got there, Patrick.
Here's a story. Okay. So I was you remember the hotel with the evil elevator?
Yes.
Okay, so I was there again because it is the best hotel in Little Rock that doesn't cost $300 a night. There's one better hotel in Little Rock. It's by Hilton's Tapestry Collection. It's called the Burgundy, and this is not a product placement for them because it used to cost $150 to stay there at night, and now it's $300. They doubled the price, and they did it in 2 months out of nowhere.
Just change the name, splash some paint on it, boom.
Yeah. So. But it's, I stay at a different hotel in that city, and it has, in my almost 2 years of exploring which hotels are viable, it's the best option because the neighborhood feels the least like your car is going to get broken into while you're there, which I've had happen at different locations. And I have yet to have a bat loose in my hotel room, which I have also had happen in Little Rock. The moral of the story is just don't fucking go to Little Rock. But this is the evil hotel in which the elevators broke and the power went out and all that shit, right? So I go there this time, and they notify us that there's going to be a 2-hour interruption and that we won't have water for 2 hours because they're plumbing. Okay, it's not a big deal. I have to go out and do some business. I'll be back in 4 hours. It's fine.
Yeah.
But 4 hours later, there's no water. And in fact, there's no running water until after midnight.
Oh.
I call at 11. I'm like, hey, do you have an ETA on this? And they're like, no, not yet. And I'm like, great. Do you know the name of the person I have to talk to in the morning to get compensation for this? And she says, well, we'll be happy to check you out at 11 o'clock at night is what they tell me.
You can get the fuck out if you need it.
Yeah. And then at midnight, the fire alarm goes off, but it is a false alarm. And at that point, hot water is back.
Okay.
So that was fun.
Did you have any water at all?
For 8 hours? No.
So, like, you couldn't flush the toilet, couldn't brush your teeth with, well, you could brush your teeth. I guess you just can't rinse it out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that sucks.
Yeah. So about 3 days later, I come back home. I get home. The internet went out the previous night. We thought it was like an outage or something, but my wife, she had to go visit her mom that day, so she wasn't at home anyway. So I get home that day. Still no internet. So I called. There's no
Yeah.
outage. So I go through tech support. They say the modem's the problem. And this modem is about 8 years old, and it's two like speeds behind, so it needs to be replaced anyway. So I replaced the modem. It's not a big deal. But that doesn't work either. So we get a tech out the next day. So the internet's now been down. This will be the third day the internet's down. And we start walking around the block, and it turns out that the line that feeds mine and several other houses on the electrical pole has just come out, just been completely disconnected.
Yeah. That's
Yeah. So
like
that's
what the hell? Like, did somebody pull it out? Did a squirrel sabotage the podcast? What's going on?
Yeah, no one knows
Okay.
or is willing to admit what happened. What I think happened is they've been updating networks in the area, and they probably didn't connect. They probably changed that out and then didn't connect it correctly.
Yeah.
And then it fell out, and they don't want to admit to that.
I worked for Spectrum for a couple of months, and yeah, I could I could see that happening.
Now, so they give me a text that says this is going to be within 48 hours is the verbiage used. They'll fix it. So I guess it takes 48 hours to get a ladder. That's not my joke. That was yours. You text me that, but. Well, no, we'll break kayfabe for a minute to give you credit where it's due. But yeah, 50 hours pass and no internet. So I call them. It's now a Saturday, and they're like, "Oh no, it's 2 business days." I'm like, "Well, that's not the verbiage used on the message." And I feel like legal should be aware that the verbiage being used is 48 hours and not 2 business days. So anyway, they got somebody out to me at 8:00 that night. They reconnected it. Still no internet. I had to call and get the modem reactivated again, which took an extra hour. Finally, internet. Now, all that to say is those are all 2 harrowing stories. But the part I forgot to tell you is while I was when I got home and I was tracing the outside of the house to make sure there wasn't a line broken, I did find out that while we were both gone, somebody shot up that window with about 12 rounds of BBs.
Yeah,
somebody
that's
with
fun.
a BB gun just shattered my window for no reason.
Maybe they were trying to shoot the guy that was sabotaging your internet,
Must have been.
and they just missed. And like, you know what happened? No, there was a squirrel that climbed up the pole to disconnect your internet, and no, it was a raccoon. It was a raccoon taking vengeance against us for killer raccoons. 2, 3, whatever the hell.
We did make a lot of jokes demeaning
2.
raccoon penis.
Yes,
Penises?
and
Peni?
Peni.
Peni or okay, Peni.
Yeah, we'll go with raccoon Peni. and the raccoon climbed up there to disconnect your internet to try to ruin the podcast. A neighbor saw that, a very concerned neighbor, and just unloaded an arsenal of BB guns, and you happen to get sprayed. That's all.
All that to say, this is why we're like almost a week and a half late recording Basket Case 3. Hello and welcome to the Found on Shelf podcast, the podcast where we don't have time to write an introduction because people are shooting at our houses and disconnecting our internet. I am your exhausted and frustrated host, Patrick, and with me is my gleeful co-host, Dustin, who has his story to tell us. Dustin, how are you doing this fine Monday afternoon?
Yes.
Jesus.
Monday afternoon. What a I mean, I'm not used to recording this when the sun's out.
No, it's usually almost midnight at my house on Thursdays.
Then again, I live in the Pacific Northwest and the sun is not out. It's actually cloudy. But hey, it was raining earlier. So what I was going to tell you, you had a hotel story. I was going to tell you about a little hotel story that I had. So I was recently on a work trip, and I decided to rip a copy of the movie we're watching today to put it on my laptop so I could watch it in the hotel, figuring nobody at my house would ever want to watch this. So
you were probably correct on that one, I'm assuming.
And do you remember the show on Comedy Central, Insomniac with David Tell?
Yes. God.
I absolutely loved that show back in the day. And I was cleaning out my garage and I had a box and I had the best of David Tell's Insomniac on DVD. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to rip this too. And I'm going to go sit in my hotel and I'm going to watch some old school Insomniac. So I ripped that. I got that set up there. Anyway, I went out to dinner with some...
By the way, this is a story. No illegal activities took place. These are all stories for entertainment purposes.
Yeah. Well, no, I ripped my own copy for my own personal use.
Perfect.
Yeah. So I go out to have dinner. I was down in San Diego. You like foo-foo. You like Mai Tais, right?
Of course, yeah.
Everyone likes getting girls drunk. So there's this place in San Diego called Bali High that has Mai Tais. There's no juice in their Mai Tai. It's just like rum, and like a splash of syrup, triple sec. That's pretty much it. It's delicious.
Yeah, so I had one of those in Hawaii. We had like this tiki was like they called it a flaming zombie. It was like five different types of rums, and then they set it on fire.
Nice.
And I served it this nice. I know you're getting too sorry. I'm distracted, but they had this nice
No,
little
it's-
tiki glass with this little smiling tiki. And about halfway through, I look at the glass and I say, "I love this guy.
how could you not?
This is my favorite guy." And I
Yeah.
hear myself say it, and immediately just reach into my pocket and hand my wife the keys.
Yep.
Once we go to, like, this is my favorite guy. Oh, here you go.
Yep. I'm done. And I'm out. So they have a limit of 2 Mai Tais per person. So I got 2. Anyway, that's it. So I go back to the hotel. I got a little buzz going on. It's late. It's tired. I'm like, all right, fuck it. I'm just gonna throw on Insomniac. So when I ripped it for my own personal use,
Yes.
it's got 2 discs, and I had to rip them separate because I'd never got around to stitching them together. I hit it on there, went there, and played. It was great. It was like an episode about being down in New Orleans. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Anyway, despite the title of the show, I fell asleep watching it. Apparently, I think when I went to click it, I wanted to watch disc 1 and disc 2, so I just hit play all. So it played through and it played through, and then I was woken up when my laptop decided to play the next file on the list, which was this movie. So can I just tell you? Can I tell you how fucking wild it is to be jolted out of a deep, slightly drunken sleep to this opening scene? I woke. I heard the noises. I woke up and I'm like, "What the hell?" And I look at the TV, and I instantly grabbed the remote and just shut it off because I'm like, "What the fuck is going on here? This is insanity." I had no clue what this movie. Well, I knew kind of what this movie was about, but oh my god! So that was my introduction to our fine choice for films today.
And I just want to take this time to plug our new upcoming podcast, Monster Fucker Monthly, where we talk about monster fucking on a monthly basis. We'll begin with the book Mothman Ate My Ass, and go from there.
It was quite. I sat there like.
Did you see the
like,
light?
What? I'm trying to figure out. My brain is trying to process the information it was just given, and I cannot do it. So yeah.
For this movie, and before we do it, just to illuminate, just to illustrate what you're talking about. The end of the last movie has 2 deformed persons who are ostensibly they're just monsters. They're
just mutant blobs.
Yeah, they're basically tumors with teeth, and it ends with them fucking. So this movie, the first 7 minutes of this movie are the ending of the last movie.
Okay.
They just reused like the first 7 minutes. I think they reused. I think between all of the movie footage, they reused just like 10 minutes of this movie. It doesn't even exist. That's for a reason.
Okay.
But yeah, so like this movie ends with a recap of the first movie, and it starts out with the scene of the 2 monsters fucking. And like it doesn't just. If you've ever seen a Frank Henenlotter movie, you will know they just start. You see Shapiro Glickenhaus, and then they just start.
Yeah.
Like you remember Frankenhooker, right?
Oh yeah.
Just boom, just poking a brain. No like bracing for anything. The same thing happens with Brain Damage, although I can't quite recall the opening to Brain Damage off the top of my head. But like all of these movies, they just start. And so does this one, but it starts with a close-up of the 2 monsters fucking. And they are going to town.
Yeah, and that's what I was woken up to. So that was yeah.
Had some weird dreams after that though, didn't you?
That was like mind shattering, just like what? I have not seen any of the Basket Case movies. So this was brand new territory for me. I knew of them, but I didn't know that there was going to be mutant blob sex going on.
I really do feel like knowing Frank Henenlotter, you should have known that part.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I guess I figured that somebody would be fucking a mutant blob, but I didn't think that they'd be fucking each other.
I mean, like, have you seen Brain Damage with like death by slug fellatio?
I have not seen Brain Damage. I have not seen a lot of Frank Henenlotter. I've seen Frankenhooker. I don't think I've seen any of the other ones.
Okay, so Frankenhooker is my favorite. Brain Damage is my second favorite. I put Basket Case towards the bottom of the list for specific reasons we'll get into, but it's still, they're still well made. Well, they're still movies. The first act of Frank's career, though, is very much New York centric. And there's like a palpable layer of sleaze on them that's missing from this one. But today, the movie we're talking about is Basket Case 3. So this is our third year in the podcast. And as such, we are only covering the third films in the franchise. It's the third film in the franchise we're covering today is Basket Case 3. Dustin, if you had to pitch someone on Basket Case 3 in 30 seconds or less, how would you do it?
Have you ever wondered what it'd be like to watch blobby mutants have sex and then give birth to a dozen little blob babies? Well, let me introduce you to a movie with loads of personality.
Nice.
Personality.
Walk.
Yes. Yes. So that's I do have an actual trailer. I couldn't think of any this. I really liked this movie.
Really?
I really did.
Okay.
I found it freaking hilarious. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Yeah, I'll just play the trailer now. Why not?
Just when you thought it was safe to open the basket, the makers of Basket Case 1 and 2, Brain Damage and Frankenhooker, bring you the continuing tale of brotherly love in Basket Case 3. Dwayne and Belial are back, and there have been a few little changes.
I'm gonna be an uncle?
Sit back and hold on tight. This is one road trip you'll never forget. Granny Ruth and the gang are heading south to meet up with some old friends.
Bye, Sheriff.
And old family. They've come together to witness the miracle of childbirth. The stork has landed, bringing a bundle of joy to some.
Really?
And a bundle of cash to others.
We came out here to get $1 million, and that's just what we're gonna get.
He's a freak, Daddy. His brother's a monster.
What the hell are they?
These must be his puppies or something.
This is one plan the sheriff should have aborted.
I think they're hungry.
Because Dad is mad. And he's taking no prisoners. The little town of Peachtree Valley is going to have a showdown.
You give me Belial, I give you the baby.
For Dwayne, Belial, Granny Ruth, and the rest of the family, this is the mother of all battles. The Bradley twins are back, and getting even was never better.
This is gonna be some family.
Basket Case 3. It's time to build a bigger basket.
Basket Case. That was actually part of a trailer I had to trim some off of because there was a lot of it was the much like the Josh Kirby trailer I pulled a while ago. It was the trailer that talked about buying the movies and getting extra bonuses and stuff, but it was a short it was the short trailer that I found. The other one I found was about 4.5 minutes long. I was
Wow.
like, oh my God, why would you do that?
I don't know.
But that's what it was. And I think that was Peter Cullen again.
Could have been.
It sounded like him towards the end. So
He didn't say Allspark. I need him to say something like robot-y. Be careful. Be careful. There's a third Transformers movie. So I could end this all right now.
oh no,
Pick
don't
it.
do that. Don't do that.
It's 3 hours.
There's a Walker Texas Ranger third movie.
Do TV movies count?
I don't know.
I don't feel like they count.
No, I don't think they should. But anyway, here we are.
Well, we've talked about Frank Henenlotter before. He makes very bizarre, very, very original films. Frankenhooker is one of my favorite movies of all time. Brain Damage is pretty fun. But his first movie is Basket Case. And this is the franchise we're talking about. Now, you said you had never seen a Basket Case movie before, right?
Nope, never seen it.
So we'll talk a little bit about Basket Case.
Yeah.
A little bit about Basket Case 2 and a lot about Basket Case 3. He always wanted to make movies. We talked about his, exploring New York and watching all of the trash that you could find there. Back in the heydays of real sleaze movies. And that's the type of thing he wants to do. So his movie is called Basket Case. Extremely low budget indie movie. In the movie, Dwayne is funding their venture with a wad of cash he keeps on him. That's all of the cash for the production they're using as a prop.
Nice.
Dwayne and Belial. Good God. Dwayne and Belial are born as conjoined twins. Belial is more or less a tumor.
Okay.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
he's growing on the side of Dwayne, and he's got like an arm and like part of a face and like fangs and shit. But he really doesn't have much more beyond that. And when Dwayne is like a child, like 10 or 12 or something, he doesn't want to be separated from Belial. They communicate psychically, and he is forcibly separated through an at-home illegal surgical procedure in their house.
Okay.
Although I do believe that part of that was just because they probably couldn't afford to shoot in a hospital. They chop him off, but Belial doesn't die, and Dwayne keeps him alive and in a basket that he carries around. And the movie is them going around New York trying to find all of the doctors and people involved with forcibly separating them and murdering them for revenge.
Oh, okay.
Now, Dwayne begins to live a more independent life away from Belial, which Belial resents, and he becomes romantically involved with a young woman. And at the end of that movie, Belial escapes from his basket and finds that woman and sexually assaults and murders her,
Oh, okay.
which causes them to fight, fall out of a rooftop, and die. And that's the end of the movie.
Okay.
Yeah, so Basket Case is a wild movie. It's extremely gory and violent. It feels very sleazy, very cheap because it is, and people liked it. The problem was with distribution. The distributors didn't think it would be viable with as violent as, so they actually cut all of the gore out of this movie and were trying to release it that way, and it was flopping. But Joe Bob Briggs said that he would host the Dallas-Fort Worth premiere of this movie and make it a big thing, as a film critic, and specifically a film critic of horror and B movies and drive-in films, genre movies. If they did the original cut called The Gore Place. So Joe Bob Briggs is the reason this movie was released in its original format, and it was part of the reason why it was a huge success.
That man is a saint.
He is. So then, he tries to make a couple other movies, gets Basket Case made, he gets Frankenhooker made. Well, he wants to do a movie called Insect City, which I'm not sure what that was about. That gets Shapiro. No, I don't know if it's Shapiro or Glickenhaus. It's one of them. I think it's Jack Shapiro. But part of the Shapiro Glickenhaus arm, he's in negotiations with them to make a movie, and they pass on Insect City, and they decide to greenlight Frankenhooker and a sequel to Basket Case.
Okay.
Which he never thought that there should be a sequel to Basket Case, but working with them, he's like, okay, let's go from there. So the second Basket Case movie, it turns out they didn't die. They're just gravely injured.
Yeah.
And they wake up out of the hospital and they escape together. These two women, Granny Ruth and Susan, find them after having seen the newsreel and convince them to come back to their house. The house that Granny Ruth runs, Foster's Home for Fucked Up Friends. And
I guess I wasn't the only one watching Cartoon Network back in the day.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, what is going on here with this? Oh, okay. That makes, okay. I got it.
Lots going on in this movie, but Dwayne is now more independent from Belial, but is listless because of it, but is growing closer with Susan. Belial is learning to live independently from Dwayne and is having the time of his life, and finds another murderous tumor monster named Eve, and they get it on. And at the meantime, there is a reporter trying to find them. And in the movie, is they end up eliminating all these reporters trying to eliminate their way of life, and everyone fucks in celebration. And then, this is the end that you see, the beginning of this movie, which is Dwayne is trying to get with Susan. Susan reveals that, in fact, she is also not normal. And she has she's been pregnant for 6 years because the baby doesn't want to come out. And the baby is a worm monster named Bernard that routinely comes out of a cesarean section scar for air and then comes back in, as you do. He freaks out. He throws her out of a window, then goes and abducts Belial from his marital bed and sews him back on. And everyone stares on in horror. Yeah. That's how that movie ends. And that's where this movie starts off. Now, Basket Case 1 is kind of does its own thing. And you could kind of see where you could do some analysis where it's about healing and moving on, and also codependent relationships. But also you could say that Belial very clearly represents the id, right? He keeps him in a lockbox. He only exists for sex and for violence. He is all id, and he's literally locked away. And then when he gets out, bad things happen. So you can see that, right?
Yeah.
Basket Case 2 is more of a riff on Todd Browning's The Freaks. Have you ever seen Freaks
I
from
have, yes.
1932?
Yep.
Yeah, they even have the end where like one of the reporters, instead of murdering her, they fuck her face up and turn her into one of them.
Yeah.
So like it's straight up Freaks, except for, without the weird gold digging scheme.
That was one of the first DVDs that I actually bought was started on Freaks. Yeah.
Google gobble,
Yeah.
gobble,
It
one
was,
of us.
have you ever seen that movie? I think it was called Freaked with Alex Winter.
I am aware of the name Freaked and Alex
Okay.
Winter being in it, but I have not seen that movie. Is it the same thing?
Yeah, it was a pretty good movie. I mean, it was also kind of like everybody gets kind of like mutated and freaked, and then there's like a little twist at the end. It's kind of like that. But yeah, it was a weird movie. It felt like watching a live cartoon.
Which is what this movie is going for.
Yeah.
So, okay, the thing that Granny Ruth's house is like, they're all freaks, but they're not using unlike the Todd Browning movie Freaks, which used people that were employed in sideshows, so people who had physical deformities or just looked different than the normal person. That movie is populated with people like that, people who maybe don't have all of their limbs or have differently shaped bodies, or
Right.
just little people, or facial hair. Just that's what that movie is doing. All real people being labeled freaks.
Yeah, which was kind of unique that he actually got real people.
Yeah, and it's part of why the movie is controversial. You could debate that movie forever. It's a very strange film.
Mhm.
This movie goes in the exact opposite direction, which everyone is wearing outlandish, outrageous prosthetics. They are monsters. They are not humans, right? They are humans in fiction, but they do not look like humans. They are monsters. They're all kinds of like Saturday morning cartoon looking monsters. It very much looks like Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, but more fucked up.
Yeah.
And that is also on purpose because of the nature of the film of Granny Ruth bringing these people and then them actually being somewhat monstrous. They didn't want to other real people or to have like physical maladies that people could actually have and make them the monsters in their horror movies. So they wanted to blow it out and be as cartoonish and as far divorced from reality as humanly possible.
Well, that's respectful.
Yeah. In telling this story, it's as close as you can come to that, right?
Yes.
The difference between the first three Hannah Lauder movies, where they all take place in New York, they feel gritty, they feel sleazy, they feel dangerous and dirty, and like you shouldn't be watching them. Basket Case 2 and 3 are shot on a really big budget for these types of movies. The camera looks clean, everything is smooth and clean with a bright, cartoonish color palette. They do not feel like Hannah Lauder movies at all, really, except for the strange tone they take and the wild gore and horror that they're willing to show on screen.
Yeah, that's kind of what I liked. It was almost like this weird juxtaposition of this like fun little cartoon, and then there's just like this really dark side of it, but it doesn't really, there's a lot of murder, there's a lot of gore, but it doesn't really go dark, which makes it even like almost more dark. To me at least, it's kind of weird. But
Yeah, it's a very strange movie. Now, wisely, they have not brought back a plot line of Belial being a rapist, so you're able to more effectively sympathize with your main characters if that isn't a plot point. Yeah. So Basket Case 3, you want to get into it? I've taken us up to the first 7 minutes of the film. Now we can actually see a frame from an independent original movie.
Yeah, so I did write some stuff about the intro, and then like I felt it was kind of weird because like you said, it was after about like 6-7 minutes or whatever this movie starts, and I'm like, okay, he's in a straitjacket and the Blob's been separated from him again. So, or Belial, excuse me, I shouldn't call him the Blob. He has a name.
Yeah, he has a name that we make synonymous with the devil.
Yeah.
Although interpretation of that varies, but like that's what they're going for here.
Yeah, it was an interesting choice of names. But so Belial's been separated. Now he's in a straitjacket, and it's been months. And I'm like, and I'm sitting there watching, like, why did we even bother with this whole introduction scene if they're just gonna just take him off? But now it makes sense that was from the last movie. That all makes sense now. I get that. I get it. But yeah, but now it's been months. He's in a straitjacket trying to say how he's better, and it's kind of funny that he's a normal looking human. He's a normal, average looking kind of human, and so is we should say this for those. So is what, Grandma Ruth, was that her name?
Granny Ruth.
Granny Ruth. They're both normal looking people surrounded by all these mutants and monsters and freaks, and he's the one in the straitjacket, which is kind of a funny thing that and they're all running around just going nuts. And yeah, and that's it's been months, and now Belial knocked up Eve, so they will be having a baby, and that's kind of where we go. We do like a Muppet
Madcap house thing.
yes, where everyone's like, hey, we're gonna go hop on the bus and we're gonna head out there, which I thought was hilarious.
Yep. So they're on the bus, all of these monster people, and also Dwayne in a straitjacket.
And all the windows are all curtained up so people can't see inside, but really it's because they probably didn't have the budget to actually film it while they're shooting, so they're like, windows be covered up, that way we don't have to pretend like we're driving anywhere.
Yeah, and then they have an impromptu musical number.
Yes, a fantastic musical number. Come on, Patrick, sing it. I loved her.
Yeah, she's the key to the movie.
Yeah,
It doesn't work without Granny Ruth.
no, yeah, Granny Ruth was awesome.
They're on a road trip. Eve is pregnant. They don't know what to do. But years ago, before the movie, Granny Ruth had a child who was like them. She calls them a unique person. It's a person that has like a centipede body with a whole bunch of hands.
Mm-hmm.
And she
was
wasn't
this shown in like part 2 or anything, or was this just new information?
This is new information. Everything you've seen here is just how they present it. And he's got all these hands. And anyway, she doesn't feel like she's able to care for him. So she comes to this kind of home for all of these people as like a redemption arc later in her life. She gives the kid up to a doctor. His name is Hal, and he's raising Uncle Hal. And he's raising him as Little Hal. But Uncle Hal's a doctor, and they've been in touch, and so she's bringing the whole group over there to Uncle Hal because Uncle Hal is a doctor, will be able to try and figure out what to do to help Eve give birth.
Yeah, in some small town in Georgia, where they're headed to. And it's funny because there's a little Frankenhooker connection when the sheriff shows up at the house. Did you catch that one?
No.
I wasn't sure if you would, but I did clip it. When the sheriff shows up at Hal's house, this is the kind of cutaway during the bus sequence, so you kind of get an introduction to them. He has this like weird contraption that he finds on the side of the road, and he's like, "Oh, you think your son would like that?" And then he says this.
I'm still using that wacky remote control lawnmower you made for me a couple of years ago. Took a while to get the hang of it, but it's still running.
The wild remote control lawnmower. I was like, oh, that was good. That was a good connection. But then he doesn't actually see Little Hal. They just show a picture of him on the wall with like a kid with 6 arms. Now, I thought at this point in the movie that the sheriff like knew that kid was a freak. But like later on, it kind of like he didn't know what was going on in the house.
I think he knew he was a freak. I don't think he was actually I don't think he was prepared for what that actually entailed. Just because he hadn't seen him, right?
Yeah, that's true. But he saw him when he was little, so maybe he knew he had like 8 arms or whatever.
That actor, by the way, is 6'10".
Who's what?
That guy playing Lil Hal is 6'10".
Yeah. Wow. I liked him too.
Yeah. He does a lot of producing and directing. But yeah, I don't imagine he needed a lot of like height adjustment to make that character work.
Right. Holy shit, that's tall.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, are you meaning to say he's 16? What are you? 6'10"?
6'10". Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Wow. Yeah. So the bus ends up pulling into like we don't get the full shot at this point of Little Hal. We just see him on top of a house waving. But that's all we really see. So it's kind of it's a mystery at this point to what little Hal is, sort of.
Hello, Gimcrack here with our all-important ad break. Do you struggle with finding time to source and prepare a meal at the end of the day, only to end up ordering takeout again? Save money and feel better with an easy-to-use, high-quality meal prep kit. With Bloody Apron, you'll never have to wonder who's for dinner again. Each Bloody Apron subscription box has a carefully chosen meal to suit your unique taste in an easy-to-use pre-portioned kit. Choose from an assortment of menu options like liver and fava beans or long pig tenderloin. Our ingredients are hand-selected specimens of the highest quality and are butchered humanely in a dingy warehouse on the docks after they're abducted from their homes. Along with your meal, you'll receive a fact card about who they were and what kind of life they lived for that extra personal touch you expect from a premium service. And while Bloody Apron does not have a vegan option, I would like to assure any conscientious objectors that all of our meals are prepared animal cruelty-free. If you would like more information on our process, we do have a volunteer program. Sign up today and get 25% off your first order when you use our discount code. Oh God, please, what are you doing with that cleaver? That's Bloody Apron. I rather like that one. Let's get more sponsors like this.
Yeah. And then the bus pulls over and he tries to escape and he sees this cute girl walking down the street.
The bus pulls over and Dwayne tries to escape.
Yes. And he sees the cute girl and it turns out the girl is the sheriff's daughter, Opal. And again, I like that she's all nice and cute and innocent. And then you find out later that that's not the case. It's kind of a theme with some of these movies is that the humans are the real monsters.
Also, I just think Frank was horny.
Yeah, that could have been too. and speaking of horny,
Prepare to beat off.
I will have to throw that in there.
Granny Ruth's putting a lot of condoms in that basket.
Yes, she is. Do you have any extra large ones?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the bus pulls over. Ruth gets out and goes and shopping and just starts grabbing a bunch of random shit. A bunch of like kids' toys and condoms. Pretty.
Not weird at all.
And then asks if they have any extra large ones.
Because I don't think she wants to deal with this situation again.
No, she's done. It's a lot. It's a lot to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Mutant blobs babies are a lot. Where do you like? How do they even figure out that they could have sex? Do you think they're just like rolled around until something happened? And they're like, oh wait, I think that's it. I'm just confused.
Do you know the less time thinking about it, the better your sanity?
Is it like a raccoon's penis or more like a duck's penis? What has he got going on down there?
You know, I've spent a lot of time trying not to think about what Belial's got going on down there.
Well, I think maybe it's time we do. How much of the Bad Dragon catalog does Belial look like?
Oh, I don't think any of it. Have you seen Belial? He's tiny.
You've seen, that's true.
Have you seen a Bad Dragon dildo? Come on, man. They're huge.
Not up close.
We live very different lives.
I don't even know what to do with that one. All right. We were okay. Now we're taken back to Uncle Hal's house. The bus is kind of going there. And Eve's water breaks just everywhere.
It looks like a fire hose.
It's just a mess. It is fantastic. It's just a lot to deal with.
Well, Dwayne looks at the water pouring out the bus and goes, "What's that?" And Granny Ruth, in awed admiration, goes, "Eve's water," as if it were a bottled water product. Eve's water, only from the most purified tumor monsters.
I bet you they could sell that pretty easily. Eve's water.
Yeah, but probably it's like as a beauty product. They're not as a water product. Like Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop has an Eve's water collection, and it's meant to like replenish your skin. Yeah. I'm going with people putting placenta on their face, and you're over here going with douching. What are we doing? We're going in two different directions here. That one's
This
getting
movie-
cut.
this movie has kind of warped me a little bit.
Yeah, we'll blame it on the movie.
Yeah, I think the lightheartedness of it mixed with the absolute like insanity of it just really kind of messed with my mind.
Yeah, it's a weird fucking movie. It's shot almost whimsically, but the subject matter is bizarre. All right,
Yeah.
so people on set say that it's like Frank was just trying to shoot every gag he could that he thought made him funny. Frank tells a slightly different story. We'll get to that in a little bit.
All right. Oh, and now we finally get to see all of little Hal though. So that's cool. Because now that's when he sees his mom and he screams that we heard in the trailer. Mom!
Like we couldn't see that coming already.
Yeah, he's a gigantic thing. Just a big mutant thing and got arms coming out everywhere, and he's just wild. But Eve's about to have her babies, so this is important. Like everybody's got to get together.
Yeah, in the Morlock delivery room.
Yeah, and I love what the doctor says. He's like, they got to rule out a cesarean. Oh.
We're ruling out a cesarean. We can't open her up because we're not certain how she's put together.
Of course.
Of course.
Of course. She's the best. She's the absolute best.
Yeah, she's definitely the best thing about this movie.
Yeah, and I do like Dwayne too. I like Dwayne in much of the same way that I liked the main guy in Frankenhook, in that they have this great insanity monologue, but it's not really like totally insane. It's just completely normal to them, but it's insane to us, and I just like their delivery.
Yeah, no, he's good at what he's doing. He's an art teacher.
Oh, okay.
But he loves these movies. He came out for every one of them. He's written a fourth one he wants to get made. He loves this shit.
I'll help finance it. What do we got? I can throw a couple bucks down.
No, honestly, in the delivery room, I like Little Hal with the JVC camera because that to me feels like Jeffrey Franken.
Oh my god, it was the best.
He's like talking through the whole thing. He's like, what? Because she's having your babies, and it turns out it's like a litter. So one, she's like, the baby is alive, and then like every time a new baby pops out, he starts coming a rhyme like 5, and she's still alive, and
yes,
8, we're doing great, and he's like, I'm gonna need a smoke, and then, he's like, I need drugs. It's like. He's like freaking out and becoming more frantic. I love that. That to me was very close to like Jeffrey Franken, like ranting and raving and putting a drill in the back of his head.
Yes, yeah. And then he also had the great line.
She's popping them out like Pez candies.
She's popping them out like Pez candies.
Jeffrey, Frank uses this vehicle to do this like weirdly poignant thing, and saying that at all is a joke, because like towards the end of the movie, he's like, "Have you ever thought about how butterflies are like the thesis for existence," or something with that effect? I don't know. You get what I say. And Dwayne just goes, "No," and walks away. And it's kind of like, Jeffrey Franken talking about like his descent into madness. Mm-hmm. And then his mom saying, "Do you want a sandwich?"
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's that same dynamic.
Yeah. And then there was also, while they were giving birth, we did have Belial in the delivery room. But Belial does not like doctors. Yeah,
so seeing Uncle Hal in his surgical getup reminds him of being separated years and years ago, and so he attacks him. But it's also to say, like, Belial is a homicidal freak who murders everyone all the time anyway. I don't know why they had him in the delivery room. It's a terrible idea.
Yeah, that's probably not very good. And I mean, he got a stern talking to.
That was not a constructive way to express your feelings.
Yes, it was not a constructive way to express your feelings.
And while this is going on, prior to this, Granny Ruth had finally taken Dwayne's straitjacket off and locked him in the room. It's like, "Let me take this off for you. You're not going to make me regret it." Then she locks him in the room, and he escapes out a window to try and find help. And he runs into Opal and tells Opal the whole story.
Yeah.
Because, she comes on to him a little to try to coax whatever he's hiding out of him. And he tells her the whole story, winds up in a jail cell. And the deputies there, the sheriff is gone for the night. The 2 deputies decide they're going to go and go catch Belial since they're, wanted for murder.
Yeah, and there's like $1 million reward for him.
Yeah, there's $1 million reward for him. Now, I don't know how things work for like any sense of certainty, but I would wager law enforcement officers are not eligible to receive monetary rewards for apprehending a suspect.
Yeah, well, they'll probably have like their wife claim it or something. There's
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
workarounds.
These guys?
Well, okay, they're hookers.
These guys?
They're.
They can go to the bowling alley to bowl. They went to the bowling alley to fuck the ball.
Well, they can get the owner of the bowling alley to claim the reward and then share it with them.
Big Sal won't share. Big Sal's got to think about Big Sal's self.
Big Sal.
So I don't think that it would work that way, but they're motivated by money. It would actually be funnier if they found out later that they actually could not claim the money and they just were too dumb to know that. That would be funny.
That would be good.
But they break into the house and they break into the bedroom where Eve has had the babies. They see all the babies. They mistake Eve for Belial and they shoot her dead and then escape out the window with the babies while all of the freaks storm them to try and take revenge and get the babies back. And they book it back to the cop station.
Yeah, that was break in, shoot Eve. Was not expecting Eve to get blasted like that, but she wasn't really serving. She served her purpose. She pumped out 12 babies.
I can't with that. Listen, no one fridges a woman like Frank Cannonada fridges women.
All right.
This movie does feel more misogynistic than some of his other movies.
Yeah, a little bit.
Because it's like look how it's like we're gonna do pregnancy horror, which is controversial, and then also we're gonna murder the mother, and then also we're gonna introduce a woman who exists solely as like she is an instrument of sexual cruelty. She exists to get off on humiliating and dominating Dwayne, and then also she's just mean. And that's two things she does. So on that subject, while all that is happening, Opal is at the jail and takes off her clothes and is wearing all leather lingerie underneath. She's head to toe in leather gear. She opens the jail cell, grabs a bullwhip, and starts trying to, I think she would say seduce, I would say molest Dwayne. And then her dad catches her.
Yeah, she's definitely showing her darker side. And that's kind of the leading towards the the normies are the real monsters kind of thing that they're doing here.
This scene is actually kind of funny because the dad's like, well, what if I told you about messing around with my prisoners?
Yeah, it's
get those bullwhips out of here.
Yeah.
And then he's like, you're grounded, and if I see you back in here, I'll bend you over and spank you. And I'm like, oh God, Frank, ease up on it a little.
Just step off the gas just a little bit,
It's like, okay, I know you wrote it while you were horny. Come back later. Get that out of your system, then come back. Go, well, do I really need to?
Yeah, maybe go back and reread it.
Do a second non-horny pass of all drafts.
And as far as like the gore aspect of this movie goes, it's been pretty tame up until this point.
Okay, so this is the reason. We talked about Frankenhooker. Frankenhooker was this huge thing, right, to get it out because the MPAA was like, we're not going to rate it. Like this is horrible. This is X. This is awful. So they released it unrated, and it made money, but it was like not a thing anyone wanted to do. Right? They scaled back the violence a lot in the second movie because of that. Like they were forced to. But because Frankenhooker ended up making money and Basket Case 2 made money, this was filmed almost directly behind it. This was filmed very close. It isn't quite as bad as Sleepaway Camp 3, but it's not far off. So that's why this movie feels a little rushed. The thing here is he thought that he would be able to get away with having the violence on screen again. So he wrote it to be extremely violent and gory. And what he wanted to do was ape up the comedy. So we have all this outlandish, cartoonish comedy to offset all of the horrible, like nonstop onslaught of violent, visceral gore. But then he wasn't allowed to put the gore on the screen. So you have this comedy instead.
All right.
So it was intended for juxtaposition, but there was nothing to juxtapose. Because he was halfway through filming, they're like, "Can we make it PG-13?" And it's like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
He's like, "No."
So this is the reason. Oh, this and both of these movies are fueled by Jolt Cola.
Yeah, I'm sure.
There's a Jolt ad campaign with Basket Case.
Oh, is there? That's fantastic.
It's only because Frank loved Jolt so much that Jolt's everywhere in the film, and the marketing division was like, of Jolt was like, yeah, let's get in on this.
Yeah, why
Because
not?
it was the Wild West back then, and I miss it dearly.
Did you ever try Facola Cola?
I've never tried Jolt.
You never tried Jolt? Oh man. So they had this thing. It was called Facola Cola. It's Fukola, and the wrapper looked like it was in a bottle, and it had this like it looked like it was a brown bag kind of label on it. And I remember it being advertised as twice the caffeine of Jolt.
Jesus Christ! people are freaked out about the lemonade that kills you. the Facola Cola.
Yeah,
Just
Facola Cola
like
was
heart
something
attack
special.
in a can. Holy
pretty
God.
much. Yeah. So
I'd drink it.
Yeah,
I'd try it.
Yeah, I had that a couple times, and it was.
I mean, the lemonade that kills you is fine. I'd try the Facola Cola.
Yeah, let's see if we can bring back Facola Cola.
Yeah.
See if they need any advertising sponsors. We can help them out.
Facola Cola, Jolt, Surge.
Balls. Do you remember Balls?
Yeah, I bought blue balls for a lot of people as a joke.
Yeah.
I'd grab them the blue bottle of balls and hand them out to people.
Yeah.
Then the drink wasn't that good, but it was very fun to hand out.
Yeah. Yeah, the bottle was definitely interesting.
Yeah, it had like those little glass bubbles on the side of it.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. This is now a Balls podcast, sponsored by Balls.
Sponsored by, presented by, and featuring Balls. It's BAWLS. Balls. I think isn't that how they spelled it? Wasn't it something like that?
Yeah, it's BAWLS. You are correct. New blue balls.
I remember like the only place I could ever find those was at Fry's, like electronic Fry's. I don't know why.
Also anime conventions.
Oh yeah, that fits.
Put them right next to the yaoi paddles.
So back to
a joke for a very specific slice of millennial that I don't think listens to this show.
No, but they might find it. They might stumble upon it. That joke was for you.
All right.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Oh yeah, that was from the confession. Yeah,
which is great.
She's like, I can only truly love people who are honest about themselves. Really?
So back to where are we at? Oh, this is where the kind of the action kicks up a bit here, because Belial's pissed off that they stole his babies.
Mm-hmm.
And gets because a basket gets delivered to the police station,
Mm-hmm.
and Opal wants to keep the babies as a pet, and and then Belial gets all pissed off and
murders everyone.
Yeah, it was some fantastic. He like goes to strangle this one guy, and like his face just gets all cartoony and eyes pop out and stuff.
Yeah. So like as an example, in that scene, blood was supposed to be shooting out like a fountain out of all of that guy's orifices while his face was getting squeezed.
Oh, see, that would have been fun too. And he bites another cop, and that cop accidentally shoots Opal, the sheriff's daughter, who falls backwards, landing on a baby, and kills it. And then, Belial twists somebody's heads off. And then Dwayne grabbed the keys from the guy who got his head ripped off. I thought he was going to free the babies, his little nephews and nieces, but he just takes off.
Yeah, he couldn't get the key before the sheriff walked in, so he took Belial and ran out the door. Also, they needed something for a third act climax.
Yes.
So, which is this: the sheriff wants Belial as revenge and tells Granny Ruth that he will give them the babies back if they give him Belial. Now, in the meantime, Dwayne has gotten with little Hal, and they've made Belial a mech suit.
Yes. And I love how they introduce the mech suit, because you get to see portions of it before you see it. And you see, and I know that was all for budgetary reasons, I'm sure, but you'd see coming in from off screen, these these metal claws. Oh, it's great.
He kills any cops that weren't there that night. He uses the suit.
Yeah, it goes Ninja 3 style, just killing all the cops in their beds. And yep.
This is the way a lot of the first Basket Case plays out, with Dwayne kind of just hanging out while Belial super murders someone in the background.
All right. It's good. Yeah, he was just sitting outside sitting next to his basket, waiting for him.
Eating some milk and cereal in the kitchen.
Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah, has some cornflakes, and in the background, cops just dying in his little tiger underwear.
Leopard print.
Leopard
Come
print.
on.
Excuse me.
You
I
have to get
apologize.
your prints right, man.
I know. And then they're having a funeral for Eve. The bus pulls up to the sheriff's station. The babies are still locked up.
Well, that's where they
And-
arrange the trade.
Yeah, and the sheriff is still upset, but Opal is just laying there on the counter dead.
Well, yeah, but
How much
also
time had passed? Like, this is like a day later, at least.
I think it's the next day. What I will say is they really should have gone with a different shot of Opal because like she's laying on the counter dead, but she's like breathing the entire time. Okay,
Yeah,
like get a mannequin or something. What are we doing here? She's like my daughter's dead, and you can just see her going. I'm like, come on, guys.
Yeah, well, I mean, they could have just, maybe not had her laying on the fucking counter a day later. Like, he could have just talked about it. Like,
Everyone's still there. Everyone's still dead. He just kind of like shut down.
yeah, it just no cleanup. Just sit
Probably
there.
because they shot this scene immediately after the other scene.
Yeah. Here we are bringing reality into it. What are we doing that for? So yeah, and then the giant mech robot shows up. You actually get to see it like full on with its bullet deflecting panels and everything.
Yep, and you have a sheriff on Belial in mech suit fight.
And now so during this scene, like Dwayne is in the garage in the background,
Yeah.
like pouring gasoline into something.
Oh, okay, you didn't get this? It has to be powered. So if you see in the other two scenes, he was walking around with a generator from house to house.
Okay.
Now, because he's moving around, that's a much larger generator they've got it plugged into. He's pouring gas into the generator to keep power going to Belial's mech suit.
Okay. That's kind of what I thought might have been happening, but it was kind of dumb. But I mean, I guess
It
where
is
else
dumb,
it
yeah.
gonna get power?
Well, like, who would ever think that you could have a mech suit with a giant power cable? Who would ever do that, Neon Genesis Evangelion?
What they could have done is, I don't know, the sheriff could have just shot Dwayne. And then it'd been done because then he couldn't feed. He was like constantly pouring gas into it. It was pretty ridiculous.
Yep. And then the sheriff falls into the baby cradle, and all of the little Belial's munches face off, and he dies.
Yeah, good stuff. And so that was he like trips the mech like Star Wars AT-AT style, like ropes his feet around, just knocks him over. Yeah. So it's going back, and then all the babies jump out and just start killing him.
Yep.
And then it's like a cut to like basically it looks like an old Geraldo, Jerry Springer kind of type talk show
Called Ronaldo.
Freaks
and the women who love them.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden they just break through the stage, and she gives this big old speech about how the world is just going to have to accept us, or else they'll pay, and but we're here to stay.
Well, if you see us walking down the street, get out of our way, or something to that effect. Yep.
Something to that effect. Yeah.
Have a nice day.
Yeah.
It was actually the best part of the movie because, like, okay, well, there's your statement on marginalized groups, right? Like, we're not living in the shadow anymore. We're going to be here. The metaphor is a little dubious, but like at least they came around to a theme. And that's the end of the movie.
Yeah. But did you watch the post-credit scene?
I did not.
Earlier in the movie, while Eve was giving birth, and they had to sedate Belial with a needle, and he had a dream about topless chicks talking about polygons to him. I don't know what that was all about, but okay. At the
Again,
end,
Frank, you have to do a second non-horny pass of any future drafts.
Yeah. So at the end of the credits, it was a scene of Belial smoking a cigarette with those two topless women. But yeah, I gotta say, overall, I really did enjoy this movie.
I didn't hate it.
No, it was definitely Ruth and Dwayne were just the key drivers of this movie.
Yeah. And did you catch Casey in the film?
No.
Yeah, so
I don't
Casey,
think so.
Beverly Bonner plays Casey in the first movie. She is she's a sex worker who lives in the hotel where all this is happening, and she befriends Dwayne.
Okay.
Okay, she's in Brain Damage briefly.
Okay.
I believe she's in Brain Damage briefly. I know Dwayne is, and maybe it's just Dwayne. It's in Brain Damage. I have to rethink about that. But she is. But no, she is in Brain Damage. She's in the hotel at the beginning of Brain Damage as well. And then also she's in Frankenhooker. She's on the talk show talking about the dangers crack poses to other sex workers. Or Jeffrey's like,
Okay.
yeah, no, she's right. It's killing them while he's making super crack to literally explode people. Yeah. That's Beverly Bonner. Her character's name is Casey. She loves this character. She plays him in all those movies. And she also, before she passed away, she had a show that she toured the country with called Casey 30 years later, in which Casey ran a call girl company and reminisced on the events of Basket Case.
Okay.
So in this movie, for whatever godforsaken reason, she is running a fast food chain called called Mighty Casey's, which is clearly a Wendy's.
Yeah. And then, okay. So that's her. Okay. All right. And she's working at the counter. Yeah. I had not known her from the other films, but that's quite fascinating. So she is the Father Benna of Frankenlauder.
I'd say better acting chops than that.
Yeah.
I mean, if Jeff Kirkendall comes up with a one-man show, let me know. Ultimately, he says like 11 pages had to get fully removed from the script because of censorship. So that might also be why 10 minutes of this movie is from other movies.
Yeah, release the core cut.
That's Basket Case 3.
Basket Case 3. What an interesting movie. It was a fun little jaunt. Yeah, that's I was kind of curious about the home. I didn't know if all the mutants were related, but it seemed like she just kind of went rounding them up wherever.
Yeah, she collected them.
Oh, okay.
She traveled the world collecting these people and bringing them back to her home.
Ah, little mutant menagerie, huh?
Yeah, more or less.
Better than a mutant menage a trois. That's always messy.
Basket Case 4.
Really?
Oh, wait, we got that one thing to do, huh?
Yeah.
In a way, I brought you here to offer you a job. You think you can do it better, so here's your chance.
If you had to change 3 things about this movie, what would they be? And go.
I want more Little Hal. More scenes with Little Hal. I really enjoyed him. I don't think he got enough talking screen time. He is a bit of a maniac, and I appreciate that about him. I like it. I want more Hal. I actually kind of had a hard time coming up with 3 things because I liked it so much. I would say another would maybe have a reason why she has all these mutants in her house, or at least show it in this movie.
Well, the reason is clear. It's right. It's a combination of guilt and growth, which is to say, this was my child. I could not handle them, but I realize now that they're people, and that they're people that are being mistreated, and I want to help them. That's what the story is. Now, I think it's delved into more in part 2. I don't remember, but but using the child as a reveal here as the motivator for that, starting that process, that's a part 3 invention. But together it functions like, okay, I see what they were going for there.
Yeah, it would just be nice as a standalone piece to just touch on that just a little bit, just to say, hey, boop, there you go, just so you know, that's what it is. And the third one was kind of that. This was the only easy choice for me. I want more songs. In fact, make the entire movie a musical.
Well, I have good news for you.
Oh, yes, please. What do you have?
If you go on YouTube right now,
okay,
and look, there is a hour-long remake of Basket Case. It's a live-action short film that is a musical, and you can watch that right now.
Oh, that is fantastic.
So if your concern with the Basket Case is that it's not musical enough, there is a Basket Case musical for free on YouTube. Just type in Basket Case, the musical, and there you go.
I know what I am doing. Basket Case musical. And it was just a couple years ago, huh?
Yeah, 2021.
Okay, but this is all about the first movie.
Yeah. So this started.
No Granny Ruth.
No,
Okay.
nope.
All right, I'll still give it a watch. And you know what? I have not seen the first Basket Case movie, so this will be
Your
headcanon.
introduction to it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just like when I showed somebody that when I back in high school had never seen Star Wars, and I showed them Spaceballs, and I was like, "This is Star Wars."
And you should have shown them like the Phantom Menace that's in Chinese, but has like, or the Phantom Menace that has like the bad dubs over it from China. So it's English dubs mistranslated from a Chinese mistranslation.
Oh, yeah, that's a great one.
I forget what it's called, but that's the version you show them.
That version wasn't out yet when I was in high school.
Oh, right. You did say high school. That's my bad.
Yeah, I'm old.
For future listeners, if you are running this bit now, show them that and call it Star Wars. And the benefit is it will still be a more pleasurable experience in watching The Rise of Skywalker. Boom.
I enjoyed Rise of Skywalker.
We are going to have to agree to disagree.
You were the person that watches the stupid holiday special all the time.
Duh, that's hilarious. How can you not laugh at like Chewbacca's family, Itchy and Lumpy?
Yeah.
And Itchy, the grandfather Wookiee, watching space porn on his VR goggles in the living room. The movie is unhinged.
He was just watching the Megan Thee Stallion MetaQuest video that we talked about.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's all.
We made this joke in that episode.
Oh God, did we?
Yes.
I'm a one-trick pony. What do I know?
Trick pony. Okay.
What else do we have here? Is that it? Is that all? Do we touch everything? Wait, don't answer that. Did we touch on everything?
I don't know that that's better. we got to get phrasing back in the mix.
Oh gosh, I don't know. Do we talk about it enough? Do we do this movie justice?
I think so. I mean, this is one of the last movies Frank gets to make. His next movie, Voodoo Doll, is canned after this movie does not perform well. He makes a couple of documentaries, but he doesn't get a fiction movie made again until like the mid 2000s, and that's Bad Biology, and nobody has given him money after Bad Biology.
Oh yeah, Casey was talking about that. Was the one that the genital. Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Got it.
I haven't seen it, but based on a review from our friends at Glass Half Full Moon, I don't know that it's something I'll be visiting anytime soon.
Well, there's season 4 of this podcast.
Yeah, you can do that one.
You've brought 2 Hidden a lot of films to us so far, so who knows where we're gonna go from there.
I mean, there's still Brain Damage. Death by slug fellatio is a hell of a scene.
Yeah, that'd be good. He's only got what, 6 movies or so?
Yeah. 3 Basket Case movie. Yeah, 6.
And Brain Damage, Bad Biology, and the Frank. Okay. And they're all sort of related. Well, not related, but they all kind of overlap with certain characters. Like you said, what's her face was in them all.
Beverly Bonner, who has passed. Yeah, she was in all of them. I don't think she was in Bad Biology, but she was in everything else. And she passed away in 2020, but I couldn't figure out of what. And then they all start with B.
That's interesting.
I think it's a coincidence, though, because like Insect City and Voodoo Dolls were his 2 movies that got like canned. The reason he hasn't been able to make films since then is people don't want to give him money.
Where's the B in Frankenhooker?
On the cover, there's 2 of them.
Okay. Boo. There was, it's funny that you mentioned the B thing, because there was this line in the movie that I almost wrote it down. I'm like, I'm probably just looking too much into it. Where the sheriff was talking to the 2 deputies, and he starts rattling off, and like every word out of his mouth is like a B word. Did you catch that at all?
No, but it doesn't surprise me if there was like alliteration. Frank does a lot of like literary stuff shoved in the middle, but I could see that because like he does the words "baby Belial" or things people said a lot, so I could see like you could like stack on that with extra B's.
Bailey, you book the Bradley boy. Baxter, take the bassinet of Baby Belial's in back and get Brody to come by. Where's Brennan and Banner?
Bowling. It's Thursday, Sheriff.
Call the names and tell them to get their butts back in here.
The letter B.
This episode is brought to you by the letter B.
The letter B is a subscription service that sends you a fresh new alphabetical letter every month. They just all happen to be the letter B. All right, we are the Found on Shelf podcast. You can catch us, if you like what we do, you can catch us every week with a new episode on New Video Tuesday. We review all of these terrible, terrible films so that you can approach life with a more nuanced appreciation of the trash that you can find all around you. You can catch us on every social media network as the Found on Shelf Pod, on Twitter, on Blue Sky, on whatever social media site currently exists in the ethosphere. We have a page. We are sluts, and we do not care where. We will be there. So just type in Found on Shelf Pod on whatever platform you're using. Shout it out into the void. Carve it on your arm. One of our representatives will reach out to you.
I like that. That should be our new motto. Like, we don't care. We'll be there.
Yes. Yes. Frown on Shelf. We'll watch anything.
Yes. Say frown on shelf. I think that'd be a good one too, because these movies will make you frown.
Quite commonly, yes. Is that it? Is that all our plugs? Do we have other plugs?
FoundOnShelfPod.com.
We have a coffee. You can buy us a coffee.
Yeah.
We might have a Patreon one day if we could figure out a benefit to give to you. Suggest it. Get in the comments. Please write reviews of our podcast. If you do like what you do, rate us, and review us on Apple Podcasts or whatever platform that you use it on. It greatly helps to have the reviews and boosts us in the algorithm system. Only 5 stars though. We will hunt you down if it was 4.5.
We will drop Belial off at your doorstep. You can also go on Good Pods. We've been having some good runs there. We were ranked like in the top 10 independent comedies of Good Pods. So do yourself a favor and join along in that.
You know what's funny? And you said bring up independent films. I think we're going to end the show, but I do want to sandwich this in here. We were talking last week with Fred 3, and I was like, I don't even think that I saw Tom Arnold in another movie during this time frame, and then I immediately both realized what it was and then had to not say it on mic. Because the other movie that Tom Arnold was in during this time is a movie called Good Dick.
Oh. Okay. Yeah. That's yeah. It's probably better you didn't mention that one.
Mm-hmm. I was like, oh yeah, wait, oh no.
Yeah.
It's a very dark drama. A young woman obsessively rents porn from a rental store.
Oh, okay.
I think it's Jason Ritter. He is a recovering drug addict and currently homeless, and he's working at the video rental store, and then becomes obsessed with her.
Okay.
And then kind of like stalks her and forces his way into her apartment, and then they just kind of have a weird like romantic comedy relationship where she's completely traumatized and doesn't like to talk to people, and he's in her house. And then we eventually find out that her father sexually abused her, and her father is a rich and powerful CEO played by Tom Arnold.
Wow.
That movie is better than it sounds, but I promise you will never be able to sell anyone on watching it.
Yeah, well, I might watch it. We should probably end this episode first. Let me do the outro here.
Have a nice day.
Over and over, I tried to prove my love to you. Over and over, what more can I do? Over and over. Friends say I'm a fool, but over and over, I'll be a fool for you, 'cause you've got personality, walk, personality, charm, personality, smile, personality, charm, personality, love, personality, and plus you got a great big heart.
I could probably just play that song forever.
You gotta love a little bit of big band jazz.
Yeah. I just want like large over the top songs like that throughout the movie.
This is what I want out of every movie always.